When you're looking at purchasing a photo frame from a thrift store or op shop or wherever you're going to be getting it from, make sure that the frame is strong. Make sure that the timber is good quality. What you don't want to do is do your mosaic in it and then find that the frame begins to fall apart. It has to be strong because it has to hold the mosaic. Now on the back of this here, I have a hanger, and this one has been nailed into the actual frame. I'm not too keen on that. I'd prefer to actually screw it in. So I'm going to actually take this off, and I'm going to be using a pair of flush cutters here. These are actually jewelry flush cutters, but they'll be fine. And I'm just going to cut the wire. And I'm going to leave these on because this is just for me anyway. But normally if I was selling a piece, I would probably take these out. But because these are also nailed into the actual frame, it could be quite difficult to get out, and I don't want to damage the actual frame. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave those on, but I'm going to get a new D-rings and put them on the side here because it's actually going to be up like that. It's going to be portrait rather than landscape. So I'm going to actually put new D-rings on the side here and new wire. The other thing is too, and I've already done this, I just get a cutter because this has got a paper over the whole area here. Whoever has done this has done a nice job, the framer. So all I've done is I've just put the blade out a bit and cut down here. Like that, all the way around, so that I could pull the back off. Now, I've already done that, and all I did was just put a bit of sticky tape on the sides there just to hold it there. So I'm going to actually cut through that sticky tape now. And I'm going to now turn it over and push the glass and everything out. So I'm going to be left with this frame. Now you can colour the frame if you want. You can sand it back, put a colour on it now, or you can do it later. It's personal preference. But if you are going to be sanding it back, you really want to do the frame now because there's nothing preventing you, like once the actual glass or once the backing's in there, it's going to be a bit more difficult to actually sand it back. So if you're going to do it now. Now, if I'm doing a glass on glass, I would want to use a 3mm piece of glass in this. So generally I discard the glass that's in the frame because most of the time the glass in the frame is only 1.5 or 2mm, which I don't consider to be thick enough. So if I'm doing a glass on glass, I would actually replace this glass with a 3mm glass. But I'm going to actually put MDF in this frame. So I'm going to discard all this. I could use the MDF that came out of it, but it is paper backed and I really don't want to use that. And this is probably around about a 2.5 or 3 mil, which is generally probably okay. But I've actually cut a piece of 5 mil MDF. I think it's 5 mil and 5mm, and that's all ready to go in there. Now, I have given this a bit of a light sand because there was, actually, where did I sand it? There was a bit of a sticker there. So I've actually given this a light sand. And this will sit quite nicely in the frame. I've just got an old piece of marine ply just to protect the bench, and I've just laid the MDF on top of it. I'm going to get my frame to make sure it fits because I'm actually going to paint the back of the MDF in black. And I'm going to seal the front and the sides with 50-50 Wellbond and water. So I wanted to make sure I was doing the right side because sometimes things aren't square and you may have to turn or flip over the MDF. So just double check that. Now some people do actually key the MDF. That's fine. I generally don't, and I haven't had any issues by not doing that. That's a personal choice. If you want to do that, then by all means do that. But I'm just going to now just give this a bit of a mix and then just apply this quite liberally over the whole MDF. And like I say, don't forget to do the sides. Now, there's always more than one way to do a project. This is just the way I do it. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the only way or the right way. This is just how I do it. So just keep that in mind. There you can see why I'm wearing gloves. I'm going to sit that on there and just leave that and let it cure for around about 24 hours. Now, just remember that some people don't even seal the MDF. It is a personal choice. I prefer to, but a lot don't, and like I say, it's personal choice. So I'm going to come back in about 24 hours and then I will then put this into the frame. Don't forget, if you are going to be changing the colour of your frame, I haven't decided whether to or not, do that now before you put it all back together, because it will be easy. You don't have to, it is a personal choice. And I may change this colour of the frame to black, I'm not quite sure. So I'll have to think of that while this is curing. I decided to paint the frame. I really want those colours in the mosaic to pop. And so I've given it a light sand over. And that's something you need to be aware of when you're choosing your frame. You know, if you're going for a wooden frame, you can do things like that. But if you choose a metal frame, it's a bit more involved and a bit more complicated. So I like to use strong wooden frames. So I've sanded it all the way around, given a light sand. And on the back, where those clips were, I've removed those. And the reason being is, even though I wasn't going to use those, but they had paper underneath them. And when it comes to framing, quite a number of framers generally put an adhesive paper, brown paper over it. And because the clips went in after the brown paper, I couldn't get all the paper out from underneath the clips, so it would have looked really tacky. So I decided to actually remove the clips and then give the back a sand as well, and it brought it up quite nice. So I'm going to actually paint the front of the frame and the back of the frame black. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm using a primer satin paint. Try and avoid gloss because it will show every mark. You know, if you want to use matte, that's fine, but I tend to use a satin paint. And it can be any good brand, it really doesn't matter. And all I'm going to do, and it may require a couple of coats, that's fine. And just make sure that you do nice long strokes when you have finished an area, so you don't see brush marks. It may only need one. I'm assuming it's going to need two, but we'll see how it goes when it's dry. If it's going to show marks on it, I'll do another coating, another coat of paint. But if not, then I may be able to get away with one. But I'm quite happy to do another coat. It doesn't take a lot of effort or time. And don't forget those sides as well. There you go. I'll wait for that to dry, then I'll flip that over, do the other side, and then we'll come back when it's all dry and we'll be able to put the MDF backing into the frame as well. The paint's dry and the backing board is now ready to go into the frame. So I'll turn that over and I'll take that backing board out and I'll keep that exactly the same way as how it came out. Now, just a little tip, I didn't actually paint this ledge that the backing board is going to sit on. I started to here and here, and then I wiped it off. I want the actual adhesive to actually bond directly with the ledge as well as the MDF backer. I didn't want it just sticking to the paint. So I didn't paint anywhere along that edge there. So that's just a little tip. So I've got my prep glue here. I'll just give this a bit of a shape. I've decanted it into this bottle here because it makes it easier, but you can use pretty well any glue that is going to be suitable for wood. And all I'm going to do is go around the edge there, and I don't know whether you'll be able to see this, just around the edge there. It doesn't matter if it spills out when I push the board substrate onto it. It doesn't have to be extremely thick. And then I'm just going to now put this into the frame, push down on it. I'm going to flip that over to see what it looks like. We've got a little bit of glue coming out over the sides, but that's neither here nor there. That will get wiped off. But I'm just going to now just put something on top of that. Here we go. Here and here, just push down on it. Let that sit for a while, and then I'll flip that over and wipe the other glue, the excess glue off. All right, we'll come back and then we'll add the hangers on once this has fully cured. Well, the hangers are ready to go on. I've put one on here already just to speed things up a little bit. When I put my hangers on, I like to have them so they're a bit loose, because by the time you put a hanger on this side and you put a bit of wire in between, then normally the wire comes up to around about here. So I just like to have them so they're a bit loose and they angle on their own to where the wire is. Now I'm going to, or I have already done, I've measured 70 millimeters down here. I like to have it towards the top third of the actual frame. You don't want to put them down here, but you don't want to put them too close to the top. So that's where I put them, round about that distance. When you're choosing your hangers, you need to make sure that the actual screw is not going to go through to the front of the frame. So you're going to be limited by the thickness of the frame. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at the hangers for the frame. All I've done is I've marked 70 millimeters down, as I said. I put a little cross there, which you probably can't see on camera. I'm going to get my hanger and just put the hole, the screw hole over the top of the cross there. I'm going to get my screw here, just put that into the hole and just push firmly down, and it will screw into the timber as it started to do already. Hope you can see that. I'll try and keep my hands out the way. And like I say, I like to have it a little bit loose. The wire I like to use to hang my frames up is this wire, and it's a plastic coated wire. And it's a proper framing wire, and it does come in different thicknesses, so the heavier thickness is going to support more weight. Now there is a specific way of actually tying the knot onto the frame so it doesn't come undone or slip. However, I can't remember how to do that. A framer did show me and I have forgotten. But if you're not sure, you can always go down to your nearest framer and ask them to show you the best way of actually tying this wire through the actual D-rings. But I'm just going to show you how I do it, but bear in mind, I'm not sure whether it's the right way or not. So I'm just going to put that through this D-ring here, gauge about the, so we've got equal over both sides, and just turn that over on itself. Turn that over and under on itself. Then I'm going to feed through the wire through the loop of the actual wire itself. There you go. Just do that up quite tight. I don't want it to come undone. And then I'm going to now fold that back on itself and turn it around on itself. So you end up with that. And then I'm going to feed this through the other side and do exactly the same. This is probably not the right way of doing it. It works for me, but you can always go down to your local framer. They will show you how to do it. And there you go. Perfect.